Okay, today we are going to talk about the Overwatch PTR patch for June 5th, 2018, which contains within it the Symmetra rework, which is very much exactly the same as the one that Jeff Goodman teased a while ago, though I was expecting basically the same thing to come through, because if he was ready to give such big details on the rework, he had to be pretty certain that they were actually going to be what made it through to the PTR, or something very close to them at the very least. Anyway, so also there are other things. First off, endorsements. So basically, our community is extraordinarily fucking toxic. And Blizzard acknowledges this, and their way to mitigate that somewhat is with the carrot rather than the stick, which is, hey, if you're really good and you get lots of commendations, you'll get occasional rewards, and if you are scum, then you will get your rewards taken away from you. I mean, the community direly needs something, doesn't it? Because, oh my god, it makes a fucking MOBAs community look positively saintly by comparison, so something had to be done. Another, a similar proposition outside of just, like, banning people more liberally is, giving, more accountability to other players by basically implementing some sort of, clan system, because then if somebody is acting like scum in a clan, that reflects poorly on the entire clan itself. So rather than Blizzard having to ban people because they're, or suspend people because they're being scum, it's more that basically peer pressure them into it where they don't want to upset their clan, so they, or guild or what have you, so that, I've seen that idea thrown around a bit. That might also work. I mean, it can't make it any worse, can it? Let's be honest. It can't get worse than it currently is, so there's that. So looking for group. Play your way. Using the looking for group feature, you can craft your gameplay experience before stepping into a match by using separate parameters to create your dream team. Join a team of basically, it's the role select, you know. Which we've wanted for a great many moons at this point, and I never thought they were going to implement anything like it at all, because, or at least if they were, it was going to take an extraordinarily long time to come around. But surprisingly, it actually only took 2 years. So that's a lot better than League of Legends, which took a solid 6 or 7 years to admit that, fuck, a metagame actually does exist for this game like every other game in existence. So maybe, rather than trying to deny that, we should just make it a little bit easier for people, you know? Because Hero Select, and this is was the same of League of Legends as well, Hero Select and Champion Select were and are the most stressful parts of the game. So once League of Legends implemented the role select system into the matchmaking, suddenly toxicity basically got, like, fucking cut in half, because most arguments that started in that game started as a consequence of champion select, and I would posit that something similar would happen to Overwatch as well. Again, it can't make it any worse, can it? So, hopefully, this makes it a little bit, also it should make games be less hopefully make games less fucking ridiculous. Because if you're on the team that rolls 5 support mains, you probably lost that game, just because nobody knows how to play the other roles to any kind of decent degree, right? So, hopefully, it will improve things. I would assume that it will. I have high hopes, and I'm very pleasantly surprised that Blizzard is actually implementing it. If nothing else, this patch sort of shows that Blizzard is at least is listening a little bit to the community, so that's encouraging, if nothing else. Hopefully, it makes a difference. So also, here's another thing. This kind of looks ridiculous, the way they have it laid out, but all heroes in the defense and offense categories have been merged into a new category, damage, which is kind of funny when you consider that, like, Mei is going to be in that category, right? So, they're also moving Symmetra to this to the damage category and taking her out of the support category. The thing, if you look at what the hero select screen looks like on the PTR right now, it looks fucking ridiculous, because they chose to put damage in between tank and support. So it's just 6 heroes, like 19 heroes, 6 heroes. It looks absolutely ridiculous, and I'm deciding to put that right in the center. It does show how many DPS heroes are in the game compared to the other roles. It's close to like double the other 2 categories put together. But at the same time, I don't really give a shit. Like, I think people blow that whole business out of proportion about there being too many DPS compared to support or tanks, because I'd rather have less supports and tanks and have them be more distinct from each other, right? I don't want 5 clones of Mercy that all fundamentally do the same thing slightly differently, right? I like that like all of the tanks and supports are all very different to each other, actually. There's very little overlap between them, right? Even like Winston and D.Va, who are the most directly analogous to each other, are still drastically different in how they play and how they do their job, right? And they have, like, different expectations, entirely different kits, blah, 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 blah. And they're, like, the 2 closest within the roles to each other. So I don't really care that there's that many less tanks and supports compared to DPS, because the variance between the tanks and supports is quite high. Whereas, if you look at, like, the DPS category, Soldier and McCree are, like, kind of the same thing, right? Like, Genji and Tracer are kind of the same thing. It's just Genji is a little bit more vertical and long range than Tracer is. But, like, I don't really consider them to be that distinct from each other, gameplay-wise, whereas all the tanks and healers are quite different from each other. Opinion may vary, but I don't think that many of the DPS are that distinct from each other in terms of actual gameplay. Even, like, it's a whole thing. We're not here to talk about that right now. Let's move on. So, combat can now be heard 25% further away. Change the name of Lavar, okay, you know. Added an Inspire uptime percentage for Bridget. See, this is not what I want, right? Like, what I want for Bridget is I want there to be an indicator for how many people are currently being affected by Rally and Inspire. Just kind of like, you know, I imagine like the old Mercy Res indicator where it was like, X people are in range right now. Like, I want that for Bridget, because it's very difficult to tell how many people you're hitting with Inspire and Rally, and an indicator would be helpful. Well, Inspire less so. Rally is the bigger one. It's more important to know how many people you're hitting with it. Remove some statistics for Symmetra, blah, 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 blah. Symmetra can now be played in 1v1 duel modes, hooray. Doomfist got some buffs. Base movement speed on Meteor Strike has been increased, so he can, fist from further away and get there faster. So that's cool, I guess. And shield gain increased from 30 to 35 for normal abilities. I don't really know what that looks like in practical terms. So, you know, Doomfist got buffed. That's cool. But I think Doomfist is like playable at this point, whereas, you know, if we go back like 4 months or so, that was not the case, right? Now he's actually reached, like, a pretty decent place, so I think he's still, like, underwhelming to me, so just, he's, like, right at the edge, though. I think, like, at 1 or 2 buffs, and he'll probably be perfectly fine. So, you know, we're getting there, slowly. It's taken a very fucking long time to get there, but we've almost got there. Orisa, Supercharger, ultimate cost reduced by 15, you get to use the bongo more frequently. Cool, I guess, you know? Like, it's one of those things where the bongo has a theoretically very large impact, because it's a pretty good damage boost for your entire team from very far away, but, the actual ultimate itself is very impractical to actually use because of how, easy it is to break the bongo if you place it if you place it badly. So, I don't think this will functionally actually make any difference, because Orisa, in general, is a hero that spends quite a lot of time sitting on her ultimate. It's not one of those that typically gets thrown down immediately upon it being charged up, right? So, I don't think this is actually going to make that much difference to how the bongo gets used. Like, yeah, you'll have it more frequently, but it's one of those ultimates where it's probably the ultimate that gets sat on for the longest period of time, on average, you know? I have no empirical data to back that up. It's just that's what the Supercharger seems like, anyway. So the Symmetra rework. So, Photon Projector. This is our left click. No longer locks onto targets. Range has been increased to 10 meters. It's 6 currently, I believe, so that got bigger. Damage ramping now takes 2 seconds per damage level instead of 1 second. but each level is more damage, and now when you hit a barrier with it, instead of spending ammo, it does not spend ammo hitting a barrier. This is also currently bugged on the PTR very, very badly. So you know how Moira currently has that bug where if you spam right-click on somebody, you recharge your resource very quickly? Symmetra has a similar bug where if you spam your left-click on someone, it murders them extremely quickly. So if you go to the main Overwatch subreddit right now, you will find a lot of highlights of a nano-boosted Symmetra atomizing an entire team in like 3 seconds. Like, it's actually ridiculous. They have to now fix this bug, right? Like, Moira has still got her bug happening. I thought they would have fixed that by now, but they haven't fixed that yet. Symmetra now has a variant of the bug, but it is much, much worse than Moira's is. If they were, like, okay, you know, I said it looked like Blizzard is, like, listens and kind of cares earlier. If they release Symmetra without fixing that bug, there would be no evidence would be more damning of them not actually giving a shit, right? Like, we've got a bug fix with Moira to talk about later that I think is already, like, quite damning evidence of how Blizzard is. But, like, if they release Symmetra without fixing that left-click bug, they really do not give a shit about the balance of their game. Like, at all. It's ridiculous how quickly she can kill people by spamming left-click. So, fix that. In general, like, I think this is a positive change. Because it doesn't lock onto targets, that means it gets to just be stronger baseline. Because now there's actually a degree to using it. You have to actually aim, right? And yeah, it's not like a strict aim requirement. It's not on the level of, like, Widowmaker, right? But you now have to actually aim. So instead of Symmetra just jumping around you like a fucking gibbon because she's locked onto you, she has to actually aim. So that's cool. I think it's a positive change overall. The right click, still the orb, no longer pierces target, now explodes on contact. It goes faster, charges faster, and does a lot of damage. It does 120 if you get hit by the impact and the explosion. So, that's cool. It's very annoying to just have the Symmetra orbs just floating through. Like, God, do they kill just, like, a lot of people, because they just, like, phase through the Reinhardt directly in front of you, and oh, Reinhardt's big ass was in the way, and now I got clipped with the orb, so I fucking died, because it does a lot of damage. Or, you know, walking through the, on Anubis, if you see, like, a Junkrat and a Symmetra on the left side, it's just like, well, let's not go through that doorway, right? It's less terrible if there's a Symmetra over there now, because the orb won't just be murdering you as you walk through the doors. Again, I think a positive change. Now it's less annoying and has some actual skill to being used instead of just, I was going to charge it up and fire it in the general direction of the enemy team and generate mad ult charge and probably kill people. Sentry turrets now is placed like a projectile instead of being set in place. It's literally just, she shoots it out from like her midsection in a straight line. Can now only hold 3, down from 6, and can deploy a maximum of 3, but they do more damage and they slow more. I don't really know how much more in comparison to the current one on live, but mostly because all the clips I've seen of Symmetra so far have been of her atomizing people, so I think it's good. I'd rather her have less turrets and the turrets actually be... They also have more health now, I believe, as well. It doesn't actually say that here, but I believe they have 25 health instead of 1, so... That's cool. I'd rather her have less turrets and have them actually be stronger. I said a while ago that you could cut it down. You could cut it in half and like just increase the damage and slow, or just the damage, or just the slow, and she would probably be a lot better than that. Because and also give them more health. Because currently it's just like McCree throws flashbang in room. Oh, all gone. All turrets gone now. Sucks to suck. Get fucked. Now you gotta wait forever for all 6 of them to charge back up again, because if there aren't a substantial number of those turrets in one location, they are not threatening. 1 or 2 turrets is like, whatever, right? So, cool. You know, 1 turret is actually like an actual threat instead of just being a minor inconvenience, so that's cool. Again, nice. The basic thing I'm building up to here is that all of these changes are very positive, and Symmetra is going to be a good hero. she... There's another thing to talk about later on, specifically in reference to the teleporter. But I think Symmetra is... In keeping with our current trend of reworked heroes being meta-defining, I think Symmetra is also going to be meta-defining when she comes out. Similarly to currently Hanzo. So we're going to have Hanzo and Symmetra running around. Very overpowered. And we're going to be waiting a very long time for them to get balanced again. Just like with Mercy. Because that took us half a fucking year to actually get that nerfed after the fucking Valkyrie change came in. We got there in the end, but fuck did that take a long time. And that was easily the worst meta that Overwatch has ever been through, because, oh my god, was it fucking boring and tedious and annoying and aggravating and all kinds of other terrible things. Anyway, so now, Teleporter. This is replacing her projected barrier on her E. Can now be placed the exit up to 25 meters away from Symmetra, which is very long. Coalescence's range is 30 meters, so very long, basically. 5 more meters than hook range, also. Entrance will automatically be built in front of Symmetra rather than at her team's spawn point, because that would be rather counterintuitive. Last 10 seconds, health lowered to 300. I think it has 600 right now. Actually, don't know off the top of my head. It's less. It's still a fair bit, though. More things can teleport through it, e.g. Riptire. Diva's exploding mech can also go through it. There's quite a few clips of that one out there right now. And entrance can be destroyed. If either entrance or exit is destroyed, the other is removed. So here's the thing with the teleporter as well, right? Is that if you are not stuck in the graviton, you can put the teleporter in the graviton, and it will pull your teammates out of the graviton. So that's cool. If you're in the graviton, it doesn't work. I had initially thought that it would, but no, it places it in front of Symmetra. So it wouldn't actually take you out of the graviton if you were stuck in it. But you can get your team out of the graviton. So there's more counterplay to that now, rather than hoping Transcendence is good enough, right? It does put the onus on Symmetra, because if she gets caught in the graviton, it doesn't work. But if she isn't in the graviton, she can get her team out of it. So that's cool. There are a lot of very dirty things you could do with the teleporter. I mean, you know, you talk about it, teleporting Diva's exploding mech, and you immediately picture a great many things that you can do that are dirty, right? But even just more baseline than that, right? Imagine that you have a team composition that's like Reinhardt Zarya, Reaper Hanzo, Bridget. No, that wouldn't work. Hold on, let me read. Reinhardt Zarya, Hanzo, Symmetra, Bridget, Mercy, or Bridget Moira. And you're attacking like Dorado, right? Typical procedure on Dorado is that the defending team will be up on the high ground, and they will actually replace Bridget with Lucio. That makes more sense for what I'm about to say. You can put the teleporter up on the high ground opposite your spawn, from outside of line of sight. They aren't going to chew through 300 health that quickly. You just all rush through the teleporter, straight up to the enemy team, and fight them up there, get them off of the high ground immediately, and then come back and start pushing the payload up and get it under the archway before they can actually get back in time. Granted, that requires a lot of coordination from your team to actually do that, but you can do that kind of thing, right? So that's also cool. I don't have any kind of issue with that. I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with the teleporter, and I think it's cool ability, actually. Like, it's the sort of thing that could very easily end up being horribly overpowered to be able to just throw the teleporter down like this, but I think it's a cool ability. I think it allows for some very interesting plays to happen, and I think we'll see a lot of cool highlights as a result of it. Yeah, it's not going to feel good if you're on the receiving end of said sick play, but doesn't feel good to be on the receiving end of any sick play, does it? So that's not... It's not exactly new either. I think it's cool. I think that it opens up a lot of possibilities, team play and team composition wise, that are currently like not really options. So I think it's cool. I like it. Also, now, new ultimate as well, because if the teleporters are on her E, that now means her ultimate has to be different. Photon barrier. Deploy a barrier that is big enough to span and cut through an entire map. Orientation can be changed again by pressing the ultimate button, and it has 5,000 health. And it's literally just a giant beehive barrier that you summon, and it does just go infinitely in both directions and straight up. So it's 5,000 health is a lot. That's 2.5 entire Reinhardt shields spanning the entire map, which is pretty wild. Sombra, I think Sombra is going to be really strong when Symmetra comes out, because suddenly Emp's going to do 5,000 damage, right? So that's cool. Also, Sombra is pretty good right now, anyway, especially against some of the heroes that are currently popular, e.g. Pharah, Bridget. You know, so Sombra's pretty good right now anyway, and I think Symmetra is going to push it more towards people being like, alright, maybe we should actually, like, figure out how to play Sombra now, because I think she's pretty good right now anyway, but nobody's playing her, because she's hard, basically. I think Symmetra might be enough to incentivize people to be like, alright, let's actually learn how to play Sombra right now. So, cool ultimate, you can make a lot of plays with it, you know, there's a lot of 6 saves you can pull off. It has very strong implications, both offensively and defensively. I think it's a cool ultimate, and it's the kind of thing that doesn't really sound like a lot. It's just like, oh, it's a 5,000 health barrier, but which, you know, is a lot, actually. It's the kind of thing that on paper doesn't necessarily sound like it has that much exciting play based around it, but I can see Symmetra being able to do a lot of cool stuff between this and the teleporter. Also, something I didn't point out with the turrets is that they go forever. That when you throw them, they fly forever. So you can put them in all kinds of crazy places. I saw a clip of someone on Horizon throwing them at Earth, and eventually they landed on Earth. So that's cool as well. I think the changes overall are positive. Hopefully they fix that buff before they release Symmetra, because otherwise that's fucked if they don't do that. But I think that I think these changes are very positive. I think Symmetra is going to be a really good hero. I think she's definitely going to be playable on attack and defense at this point. Because now she has unique applications for both. Now if we can get Torbjorn, now all we need, right, is Torbjorn to be able to throw a level 2 turret on high ground, and then bam, equality will have been made. So, I think it's cool. I think Symmetra is going to be a very strong hero. I think the changes are cool overall, but I think she is going to be on both sides of every game for a very long time, until she gets nerfed. She's going to be on both teams every game, because I don't see any downside to picking Symmetra, basically. Right? Like, it just seems like all positives, basically. And like, alright, well, what if, like, they pick Pharah? Just pick Hanzo. Just have Hanzo on the team and Symmetra. Bam. If you have Hanzo and Symmetra on your team, that's a fucking absolutely ridiculous amount of damage that your team can do. You threaten land and sky, because Hanzo can threaten a Pharah as well. And you'll just, like, chew through it, like, gonna absolutely fucking chew through tanks and barriers with Hanzo and Symmetra on a team. Like, it's gonna be a really bad time to play a tank right now when this comes out as well, because, like, Hanzo is already making it difficult to be a tank, right? Like, I think tanks are basically fine right now. Like, people are crying and complaining about it, but I think right now, tanks are perfectly fine. It's just easier to get punished for doing dumb shit because of Bridget and Hanzo. But when Symmetra comes out as well, that's gonna make it difficult to be a tank. That's when tanks are actually gonna start struggling at that point. And, you know, I guess we'll see what Blizzard's going to do to fix that one after they break it, basically. But I think the Symmetra changes overall are positive. I'm excited for them. I think they're cool. So Horizon, if you recall, not that long ago, these changes got pushed onto the PTR by accident, and now they're back. Now they're actually there, and yeah, Horizon, like, It's impressive, actually, how many changes they're making to Horizon. Because they've made map changes before. Just punched the shit out of the microphone, sorry. They've made map changes before, but they've overall been quite small map changes, right? Like, Eichenwald, they added the doorway on the right, and made the door stay open. at the gate to the castle. Anubis, the path on the left used to not be so easily accessible, but they made it easy. They made it easy to access it because there used to be like blockage on the outside, so you like had to go through the gate to get to it. They moved that, and it was easy to get to the left side. The changes they've made to Horizon have required entirely new geometry to be made, right? Like these Horizon, it might actually be an okay map. Right? Like, it might actually be the best balanced 2CP map based off of the changes. And we're not going to go through each one laboriously right here. Basically, it's a lot fucking better on A and B. Both checkpoints are a lot fucking better. So it might actually be the best balanced 2CP map after the changes. Because right now I would say the best balanced 2CP map is Volskaya Industries. Horizon might be better after these changes, which is also incredible when you consider that Horizon is currently the worst map in the game. And I don't think that's a particularly controversial statement to make, because it's either that or Junkertown, right? Like, those are your choices right there. I fucking hate Horizon. No map in the game makes me go, oh god, more than seeing Horizon come up. So, hey, it might be a good fucking map after that. So that's cool. So, there's one bug fix I want to point out in here, and it's on Moira. Fixed a bug that allowed Moira's Biotic Grasp to heal targets through an enemy barrier. So, like, okay, I get it. Most heals in the game actually don't go through barriers. The ones that do, and with the knowledge that this is a bug, the ones that do go through barriers are Mercy, Moira's Healing Orb, and Bridget's E. Everything else actually gets blocked by a barrier. Because the barrier effectively blocks line of sight for effects like Lucio. So, okay, I get it. Consistency. Not many heals actually go through barriers. It's just the ones that do go through, like, it's like Mercy goes through a barrier. So, like, hey, that's pretty fucking sick, right? You know? And Moira also went through barriers until very recently. Here's the thing, though. How can you fucking release a hero that has such an incredibly large-scale bug? Right? That's not a fucking minor bug, is it? That's a fucking big bug. That dramatically affects Moira, right? And not only did you release Moira with this bug, it took you half a year to fix it. This is absolutely unacceptable, right? Like, we all know the PTR is actually a waste of time, right? This has, in fact, actually been acknowledged by developers previously, that the information they get out of the PTR is not large enough and not high quality enough feedback to actually be impactful. So, what's the fucking point then, right? Why even bother? Like, you had to know that bug was in the game when it was on the PTR, right? Like, this is replicated 100% of the time, right? Healing just flatly goes through the barriers for Moira right now. It's not like sometimes it does under specific circumstances. No, it fucking always goes through the barrier. So you knew this bug was in the game. And you knew it was in the game when she was on the PTR. And you've known it's been in the game for the last fucking half a year since Moira was released. That's absolutely unacceptable to release a hero with that kind of bug. And this is why I fully expect Symmetra to come onto the live server being able to just spam left click and chew through entire teams, right? I'll actually be surprised if they fix that bug before they release Symmetra. Because I just look at that bug for Moira, and I go, how can I possibly have any faith that they're gonna fix this bug before they release Symmetra? Right? Like, that's a fucking big bug that Moira's had, and has been known about for a very long time, and it's only just now being fixed. I get it. Game development's hard, I know. But fucking hell, come on! It is unacceptable to release a hero with such a drastic bug, and then leave it untouched for such an extended period of time. Right? Like the Moira bug with the right click, right? Like, that's been around for an egregious length of time at this point, but, like, that's not as impactful as this bug. It's unbelievable. I am absolutely livid about this bug fix, because the fact they released her with that bug is beyond belief. That, like, I'm fucking angry about it, is the gist of it. Also, if we could now get some more bug fixes for Reinhardt, that'd be cool, because Reinhardt currently has a lot of bugs, right? And, they haven't been fixed, right? There's all kinds of bugs, and, as someone who's played Reinhardt for 10 seasons, I can tell you they've been around for a fucking long time, right? First off, sometimes when you use Earth Shatter and you get knocked in the air, you Earth Shatter in the air. So it just hits absolutely no one except the clouds. So that's cool. It doesn't wait for you to come back down. It just goes in midair. The pin hitbox is fucked up in all manner of ways, right? You can hit someone dead on and they'll bounce off you. You can you can clip somebody's foot like 30 feet above you and you'll yank them fucking out of the sky, right? Like, the pin hitbox is all kinds of fucked up. Earth Shatter is fucked up. Sometimes you can hit someone straight on and it won't hit them at all, even though nothing was in the way. Sometimes you'll hit somebody. This happens a startling amount of the time, right? Like, there are quite a lot of the time, it just goes through barriers, right? And I've been on the receiving end of this and the beneficial side of this, and it makes me feel bad when it happens either way, because there have been times where I've Earth Shattered and I've been like, oh fuck, he blocked it, and then I've just watched it go through his barrier, and I've been like, oh fuck, I didn't deserve that. He got it right, he blocked it, but it hit him anyway. So sometimes that happens as well. It's all kinds of fucked up. Sometimes, like, Reinhardt's got all kinds of crazy bugs on him. There's this one that's specific with Doomfist, where if you countercharge Doomfist right at the end of Rocket Punch, it doesn't correctly do the countercharge interaction. What happens is you get knocked back, and then you do the charge, but your camera gets fucked up, and it, like, puts it, like, halfway through the back of Reinhardt's head, and you watch the charge from that perspective, and from your perspective, it just looks like Reinhardt is running really fucking fast, right? And that happens, like, quite regularly, actually, because Doomfist usually, the charge is quick enough that when you react to it, you're colliding with the latter end of the Rocket Fist, usually. So that bug happens relatively commonly, actually. Reinhardt has a lot of fucking bugs right now, and a lot of them have been around for an extremely long time. So if we can get some Reinhardt bug fixes out there, that'd be cool, you know? Because a lot of them are, like, really bullshit, actually. Like, when I hit the Reinhardt through his barrier, that doesn't make me feel good. That makes me go, fuck, I cheated. I didn't try to cheat, but I cheated. I saw you holding that barrier up, right? This fucking guy goes, what the fuck? And I'm like, I was thinking the exact same thing. It's unbelievable. I don't think there were any other bug fixes. There's none that immediately stood out to me. Oh, placing them inside chests and vending machines, that's cool, huh? Reaper Shadow step effect continuously playing. Oh yeah, fix the bug that prevented Farah from being knocked back by her concussive blast in spawn rooms. Like, I figured that was a bug. It's just like, I thought it was just like a quirk of the interactions more than anything else, because if you get hit by concussive blast as Farah, it does the damage indicator thing. So I assumed it was basically doing like 0.1 damage to you, and because you're in spawn and you can't take damage, it wasn't moving you. So they changed that anyway. So now you can knock yourself around in the spawn room as Farah, so that's cool, I guess. Yeah, no, there are no other things that particularly stood out to me. There's a lot of, like, environmental kill stuff on here. a lot of Doomfist bugs. Doomfist still has a lot of bugs, as it turns out. Quite a few bugs for Bridget. Bridget has quite a few bugs. Oh, that was right. That's right. Bridget being able to use Shield Bash inside of Graviton Surge is a bug. It never really made sense to me that you could do that, and it turns out that you aren't meant to. So they fixed that as well. So that's also cool. So overall, I think this is one of the most encouraging patches that we've ever gotten, because it has features that we've wanted for a long time, and they're actually implementing. It is... Oh, fuck. It has... Oh, Jesus. Oh, Christ. There we go. It has attempts to cut down on toxicity in it. It has, again, another thing that we've been asking for a while. Then it has, like, a very large-scale rework. All the reworks up until this point have been relatively minor, right? Like, Mercy and Hanzo have only really had a couple of things changed about them, really. Like, they've been reworked, but they've been minor, because both heroes were largely okay and just needed, like, a little bit of something, right? Every ability attached to Symmetra has been changed in one way or another. They've all been changed, right? This hero is now completely different after the rework, right? There's similarities, certainly, still, because, you know, turrets, beam weapon, orbs, right? Teleporter's still there. But they're all completely different now. So, and I think overall, this is a drastically better hero than what we currently have, right? I think undeniably, this is a drastic improvement over current Symmetra, right? So, I think that, you know, it's going to be overpowered, and it's going to take them a long time to fix it, because that's just how Blizzard is. But I think that still, looking at this kind of rework is encouraging, and I now want to know what they're going to do to the other heroes that need a rework, right? Like Torbjorn. I look at this and then I immediately think, what are they going to do to Torbjorn, right? Because if I see something like this happen, I had assumed, like, before we got any kind of teaser at all, that Symmetra's rework wasn't going to be that drastic. It's very drastic. So now I wonder what are they going to do to Torbjorn? Torbjorn might come out being a completely different hero by the end of it, right? Like, so I find that, like, I think this is going to be, like, it's going to be a meta-defining hero for a long time, but I also find it encouraging that they're prepared to make such sweeping changes to a hero as well. And then also to make such sweeping changes to a map, because I don't think it's in any way controversial to say that Horizon's a fucking mess, right? And they're making very large-scale changes to Horizon. Like, they had to make new assets for these changes, right? Like, like, the geometry for point 1 and 2 are completely different now. And certain things that work now won't work anymore. Like, going left on point 1 doesn't really work anymore, because, like, the doorway's been blocked off by a staircase and stuff like that, right? Like, it's very encouraging. I am, and, like, I think that the fact that they're prepared to make such big changes is good, and I find seeing this kind of patch to be very encouraging. But then I look at the bug fixes and I go, oh yeah, Blizzard are still trash, also. The more things change, the more they stay the same. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. Please let me know what you think about the patch. Do you look at it... do you like Symmetra? Do you like the changes to Horizon? Do you think this Moira fix is, like, unacceptable to have taken so long? Are you glad... Oh! Profiles. Hidden by default. Friends only. So now, finally... that'll cut down on toxicity as well. I completely forgot about to talk about that as well, even though I've wanted that for fucking, like, a year at this point. Yeah, now career profiles aren't public by default. They're friends only by default. Fantastic. A lot of toxicity comes out of people looking at other people's profiles and being tilted by it, so that's cool also. Great, I love it. So, yeah, let me know what you think about the changes. Let me know what you think about the patch. Do you think it's encouraging? Do you want all of these features, you know? Do you think that the fucking hero select looks ridiculous, you know? Do you think there are too many damage heroes relative to the other two roles also? You know, I'm curious. So let me know what you think. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us, and I hope you found the video helpful.